Hey guys, welcome to LawnCareMadeEasy.com. I'm Zach Stroud. Today I'm going to talk about a Colorado blue spruce called Baby Blue Eyes. It has a little issue going on that I'm going to discuss with you. Maybe you have this going on with one of yours. So when we come back, I'll talk about how to diagnose it and how to treat it. Okay guys, so welcome back. So like I said, this is a dwarf Colorado blue spruce, but it's a semi-dwarf. So it's going to get about 25 feet and about 10 feet wide. So if you're planting one of these, you want to give it some space. But what I have going on here is I have a little bit of an issue of some browning of the needles on the inner part of the trunk. And this is not, I'm in South Carolina, so this is not the perfect climate for this. So if you plant one of these, kind of look for this to kind of happen, because this is not their environment, okay? This is not their native environment. So if you want to come in here, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking at. So if you take a look in here, you'll see some of these brown needles off this branch here, okay? And you start seeing it, it started down here, and it's kind of starting to move up, and that's what it's going to do. So this could be a couple of things. This could be a fungus, okay? That's very common in these types of trees, or it could be spider mites, okay? And I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do if your tree is suffering from this. Now, we've had a dry spell, and we've had some high humidity towards the end of this summer, okay? Now, it's always pretty high, but I was noticing back in probably the beginning of October that we were getting a lot of humidity in the morning. I was seeing it, a lot of dew, and this can really be a big part in getting these spider mites or this fungus, okay? Without taking a microscope and going in there and seeing if you have these spider mites, I mean, there's a couple of ways you can find out, but without taking an actual magnifying glass or lens, it'd be hard to diagnose the spider mites, okay? You can shake them on a piece of paper, but there's not a lot of damage here, so I'm just going to go ahead and treat it, and I think that will pretty much take care of our problem. Now, if you don't treat this, if you don't get ahead of it, now this is usually where this will start, at either one of those, spider mites or fungicide, okay, or fungus. And what's going to happen is it'll start moving up. Now, it may take 2 or 3 years for it to do that, but each year that goes by, it gets worse and worse. I think I've already lost a branch to that in the past. It turned brown and I just cut it off, but I can see in the back now that it's more than just, a bad branch. So what that will do is just move up the tree, and eventually the tree will die. So I'm going to try to get this in the beginning of its stages and try to take care of that. So what I want to do first is I'm going to treat it as a fungus, okay? So I'm going to use what they call copper fungicide, okay? And I'll put that in the description. That way, in case you're having this problem, you can go get that at Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere like that. So all I did is I took this is nothing but a 32 ounce bottle, okay? I'm not gonna mix up a gallon because this is the only tree I'm having that problem with, so I'm not gonna use a lot of it. So it's 32 ounces of water, okay? And I just put about a tablespoon in there, okay? I didn't put a ton of it, but a tablespoon. Now, I will say that it's blue, okay? So either use some gloves or, use some gloves and make sure you're not dressed in nice clothing, because if this gets on you, then it stains, okay? So I'm just going to shake it up now. It's windy today, so I'm going to make sure I have some glasses and a mask. I'm going to put my mask on first because I don't want this all over me. Okay, so I have my mask, I have my glasses, and I have my gloves. So make sure you have all three of those when you're using, especially this copper spray, okay? And what I'm going to do is with this fungicide, I'm not going to treat the whole tree. I'm just going to treat the area of infection, okay, that I see. And then I'm going to take another solution that I'm going to talk to you about and I'm gonna treat the whole tree with that. So right in here is the problem. You can see a lot of those needles in there are brown. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start spraying them. Everywhere I see that, around the trunk and everything. And I'm gonna, moisten them pretty good. And as you can see, that's pretty wet. Everywhere I see brown needles, I'm gonna spray. Don't leave a spot that's infected. Make sure you're spraying. If you want to go outside of the limbs, that's fine. Here's some up here. See, it's already starting to move a little bit up the tree as it's spreading. So make sure you get the bark and everything. A little bit up here. And at first I thought this might be normal because a lot of spruce trees or even pine trees, they'll start losing their leaves in the fall. But I lost this branch here, so best thing for me to do, and it's starting to move up the tree a little bit. So best thing for me to do is just be, even if it's not, if it's not the fungus, that's fine. We just treat it and we've covered it. I think there's a little bit on this other side. Let me check. So here's a little bit more in here. And I'm just going to spray all of this. Just make sure you wet it really good. Get the bark. Now with these limbs recover, I may cut off some of these smaller ones, but I can definitely not cut off the big ones. There's some down here. So the second thing you want to do is we want to use some horticulture spray. Okay, called a horticulture dormant spray or oil. I'll post that at the bottom too in the description. You can get that at Home Depot and Lowe's as well. I've also used neem oil for spider mites. Okay, this is what this is going to treat. It's the spider mites, and you may need more than one application for this. The fungicide should just use one application, and it's pretty much finished. Okay, and it's going to kill it off. If you think you need another one, it's not going to hurt the tree. So if you want to come back in about 2 weeks and do it again, just for precaution, that's fine. But I know for a fact, the horticulture dormant oil spray, you'll need to do this after 2 weeks for sure. Okay, because if it is a infestation of any type of spider mites or anything like that, or if it's a bug, then you'll need to treat it twice. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to spray the whole tree this time with the horticulture dormant oil. Okay, now if you have neem oil and you have spider mites, neem oil is not really going to do a lot. It'll kill a few of them. It'll take longer to do it. It is a natural product, and I do use that for just for spraying it to keep things off of it. But for treating it, you have to give more applications. Okay, so you have to do more applications. But with this one, you have to do 2 of them, and then the tree is pretty much taken care of, at least for this part of the year. Okay. With the neem oil, you have to come back every 7 days and treat it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to treat the whole tree with this horticulture spray. So it's pretty windy out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in pretty close to these branches and just treat the whole tree, okay? And I'm going to make sure everything's really wet. Let's see if we can get a bigger spray on that. That's good right there. Okay. So if this is spider mites, this is what the horticulture spray is going to take care of. And you can spray it on top of the fungicide if you need to. It's not going to hurt anything. You can see that the tree is pretty wet when I'm finished. You can see it kind of dripping off, getting inside the tree. Now this was also a 32 ounce just spray bottle that you can get at Walmart or Home Depot or any of those places. And I filled it up with water, and then I put a tablespoon of the horticulture spray concentrate in here, okay? Mix it around really good. And we're just going to spray the whole tree. If you use the concentrate, you get a lot more. You'll get a lot more uses out of it than buying just a bottle. Now I'm just going to spray the rest of this out, especially in a lot of these infected areas. So get them really wet, okay? As much as you can. I think I showed y'all last week, or a couple weeks ago, I had a video on using the horticulture spray on your azaleas. So go back and look at that one as well. Okay. The next thing we want to do is if the plant is under any stress, the one thing you want to do after you treat it is you want to fertilize it. Now it's fall, going into December here in a couple weeks. So I don't want to give it something that is time released. Okay, we don't want to give it any pellets. What we want to do is we want to give it a fast acting liquid fertilizer. Okay, that way it can take up the nutrients really quick, and it gets nutrients as fast as it can. With the pellets, they have to break down, they have to dissolve into the ground. That could take, you know, up to 14 days for that to happen. So I have prepared a liquid fertilizer here already. So it has some fish fertilizer in it. It's also a combination of that, and it's called Dr. Jim Z. I use that a lot on a lot of these spruce trees and any of my trees that look like they're struggling. I'll use that product. Okay, it's natural, it's organic. The trees have done really well with it, so I'm going to treat it with that right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pour it down slowly to the root. Okay, let me see if I can swirl it around here a little bit. Not much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some down here towards the root or towards the trunk, and just let it go down into the trunk or to the root. I'm going to pull back a little bit. Let's mix it up a little bit. Now don't use the same pitcher for putting fertilizer in that you use for making tea. I don't think your family would like that. So, okay guys, so those are the three things I'm doing to this tree to help it improve its health. These are beautiful trees, so we try to save them. This is not a native area for it, so we do have to do things like this because of the humidity in the very hot weather. Okay, so it's just some things we have to do. But try doing this. This usually works. I've had a couple in the past that's done this, and we still have those. But use the fungicide, use the horticultural spray that I mentioned, and then just come back with some. Remember, it has to be a quick fertilizer, no pellets, a liquid fertilizer, any of your choice. I mentioned Dr. Jim Z, and I can post that below as well. What I'm using, that and fish fertilizer, and that's pretty much what all I'm going to do for this. Now I will give it a little bit more fertilizer, probably in about 2 or 3 weeks, and just make sure it has everything it needs to prepare itself. So I hope this video helps you out, and if you have any questions, put a comment below, and we'll see you next time, guys.